In the quiet moments of life, when the world slows down and the noise fades into silence, many of us find ourselves pondering the most profound question of all: what happens after we die? For centuries, civilizations have speculated, imagined, and theorized about the afterlife. But in Islam, this mystery is not left to speculation. It is explained with striking clarity, not only in the Qur'an, but through the words of the Prophet Muhammad. According to Islamic belief, death is not the end. It is merely a transition, a doorway from this fleeting world to another realm altogether, a realm called Barzakh. Barzakh is not the final destination, nor is it the day of judgment. It is what lies in between, a world we do not see, but one that is very much alive. It begins the moment the soul departs from the body. For some, this moment is peaceful, like drifting into sleep wrapped in comfort and light. For others, it is filled with pain, fear, and separation. Yet regardless of how it begins, every soul enters Barzakh, a hidden dimension, a barrier that separates the living from the dead and awaits the soul until the final hour. This unseen world is not merely a silent waiting room. It is a place of consequence. The deeds we perform in this life, every word spoken, every action taken, are not forgotten. In Barzakh, they begin to unfold before us. It is here that the soul meets the grave, is questioned by angels, and begins to taste the sweetness of paradise or the early signs of torment. It is a realm filled with mystery, fear, awe, and hope. And yet it is also filled with divine justice and mercy. In this script, we will journey through this hidden realm. What happens the moment a person dies? What do the angels say? What does the soul experience inside the grave? Is it aware of the world it left behind? And how can we, still living, prepare for what is to come? This is the story of Barzakh, the world between this life and the next, where the truth of our existence begins to unfold. Death is not simply the cessation of heartbeat or the final breath leaving the lungs. In Islam, it is a deeply spiritual event, an appointed moment when the soul is separated from the body, not by accident or coincidence, but by divine command. Allah has decreed an exact time for every soul, and when that moment arrives, it cannot be delayed, nor can it be brought forward. It is in this precise instant that the journey into the unseen begins. The Prophet Muhammad described death in vivid and moving detail, revealing how the experience differs dramatically between the believer and the disbeliever. When a righteous believer approaches death, angels with faces shining like the sun descend from the heavens. They come bearing a shroud and perfume from paradise, surrounding the dying person with serenity and light. Then comes the angel of death, known as Malak al-Maut. He sits near the believer's head and speaks gently, saying, "O pure soul, come out to the forgiveness and pleasure of your Lord." The soul, already yearning to return to its creator, slips out effortlessly, like a drop of water gliding from the edge of a jug. There is no pain, no struggle, only peace. The angels immediately take the soul, wrap it in the heavenly shroud, and it is perfumed with the scent of Jannah. As they ascend through the layers of heaven, every group of angels they pass asks, "Who is this beautiful soul?" And they respond with the best names by which the person was known on earth. The gates of heaven open for the soul, and it is welcomed until it reaches the presence of Allah. Allah then commands, "Record the book of my servant in Iliyin, the highest register of the righteous, and return the soul to the earth, for from it I created them, into it I will return them, and from it I will raise them again." But for the disbeliever or the wicked soul, the scene is starkly different. As the moment of death approaches, angels with dark, terrifying faces descend. They do not bring comfort or light. Instead, they bring with them a coarse fabric from hell. The angel of death calls out, "O wicked soul, come out to the anger and wrath of Allah." The soul resists, clinging tightly to the body. It is torn out violently, like a thorny branch being pulled through wet wool, causing immense anguish. The angels seize it and wrap it in the coarse fabric, which emits a foul, unbearable stench. As they ascend, every group of angels asks, "Who is this evil soul?" And the reply comes in the worst names they were known by on earth. But the gates of heaven are not opened. The soul is rejected, and Allah commands, "Record the book of my servant in Sijin, the lowest register, and return the soul to the earth. The soul is then flung back down, falling like a stone, lost and afraid. Once returned to the grave, the soul enters the next phase of its journey. But even before the questioning begins, it has already experienced the weight of its deeds. The believer, embraced by divine comfort, begins to feel the joy of their righteousness. The disbeliever, however, already begins to taste the sorrow of a life lived without purpose, without submission to the truth. Death, then, is not the end. It is a beginning. It is the start of a journey into the unseen realms of Barzakh, where souls dwell until the day of judgment. Each soul, whether elevated or humiliated, enters this world carrying the consequences of a lifetime. And in that moment, the reality becomes clear. The veils of the world are lifted. The soul sees the truth it once heard about, but never truly grasped. The glories of faith or the horror of disbelief begin to manifest. And from that moment forward, there is no turning back. The journey has begun. After the soul is returned to the earth, after the final rites are complete, and the loved ones walk away from the grave with heavy hearts, a reality far beyond human perception begins to unfold. The soil may appear still, the grave may seem silent, but what takes place beneath is not silence. It is the beginning of Barzakh. This is the hidden world, the unseen realm between this life and the next. It is not a place of imagination or myth. It is real, confirmed by the Qur'an and the authentic words of the Prophet Muhammad. The word Barzakh itself means barrier or partition. It is mentioned in the Qur'an in Surah Al-Mu'minun, where Allah says, "And behind them is a barrier until the day they are resurrected." This barrier is unlike any wall built by human hands. It is a divine veil that separates the souls of the dead from the world of the living and holds them until the moment they are called back for judgment. But Barzakh is not a place of sleep or unconscious waiting. It is a realm where the soul is fully aware, conscious, observant, and either at peace or in distress, depending entirely on how it lived its life. Once the body is buried and the final handfuls of soil have been placed, the soul hears the footsteps of those walking away from the grave. Then, in a way unseen by the living, two angels descend into the grave. Their names are Munkar and Nakir. Their presence is awe-inspiring and their appearance strikes fear in the hearts of those who were heedless of their Lord. They are not sent to frighten without reason. They are messengers of truth assigned by Allah to question every soul. They ask three questions. The first, who is your Lord? The second, what is your religion? And the third, what do you say about the man who was sent among you? For the righteous believer, these questions are not difficult. The answers flow naturally, as though drawn from the depths of the heart. My Lord is Allah. My religion is Islam. My prophet is Muhammad. Upon hearing this, the angels declare the truth of the soul's faith. A voice calls out from the heavens, "My servant has spoken the truth." And then the grave is expanded. Light enters from above, and a window is opened to paradise, allowing the soul to glimpse its place of eternal rest. The soul feels peace, serenity, and joy. It longs for the day of judgment, not out of fear, but out of anticipation to finally meet Allah and receive the eternal reward that was promised. But for the disbeliever, or the one who lived in hypocrisy, the story is tragic. When the angels ask their questions, the answers do not come. The soul stammers, confused and lost. I don't know, they cry. They may try to repeat what they once heard in life, but without true faith, the words do not carry weight. A voice then announces, "My servant has lied," and the torment begins. The grave tightens until the ribs interlock. Darkness surrounds the soul. A window to hell is opened, and scorching heat and foul air pour in. The soul is shown its place in the fire, and fear grips it. It begs for the hour never to come, wishing that judgment would be delayed forever, knowing what lies ahead. This experience in Barzakh is not a dream. It is not symbolic. It is real, and it is the first step of the eternal journey. What a person sees and feels in this realm reflects the state of their soul and the sincerity of their belief. The righteous find comfort and companionship. The sinful may find regret, punishment, and longing for a second chance they will never be granted. And so, Barzakh becomes the waiting station of souls. Time, as we know it, does not exist in the same way. Some may stay in this state for 1,000 years, others for a day, but each will wait until the appointed time when the trumpet is blown and all of creation is resurrected. Until then, the grave becomes either a garden from the gardens of paradise or a pit from the pits of hell. The veil of Barzakh holds the truth, and only the soul knows what lies beyond its barrier. For the righteous soul, the grave is not a place of terror. It is the beginning of comfort, the first taste of eternal peace. Though the body lies beneath the earth, the soul is cradled by divine mercy. The darkness of the grave does not frighten it. The stillness of the soil does not oppress it. Instead, a new reality unfolds, one that reflects the purity, faith, and sincerity the person carried throughout their life. It is a reality that brings joy to the soul, even in death. When the believer answers the questions of the grave correctly, declaring Allah as their Lord, Islam as their religion, and Muhammad as their prophet, a voice calls out from the heavens confirming, "My servant has spoken the truth." At that moment, the grave transforms. It is widened as far as the eye can see. It becomes filled with light. The soul is granted rest and serenity, unlike anything it experienced in the world. A window to paradise is opened, allowing the soul to see its final home, a garden lush with beauty, peace, and divine presence. Through that opening, a breeze from Jannah flows in. The fragrance, the gentle wind, the warmth of Allah's mercy, all of it reaches the soul, bringing a calm that words cannot describe. But the blessings of the grave go beyond the physical or even the spiritual sensations. The believer is granted companionship. A handsome man appears beside them in the grave, with a face shining like the moon. When asked who he is, the man replies, "I am your righteous deeds." Imagine that. The prayers, the fasts, the kindness, the moments of truth, patience, and sacrifice. All of them take form and become a companion in this lonely space. There is no abandonment, no isolation. The believer is not left alone. Their life has come back to stand by them as a friend, a comforter, a protector. The soul is told to rest like a groom who has completed his wedding day. It sleeps in peace, yet it is aware of the rewards, the promises, and the mercy of Allah. Some souls will even be allowed to roam freely in the heavens, visiting one another, rejoicing in the news of the living believers, praying for their loved ones, and looking forward to the day when they will be reunited. In certain narrations, the souls of martyrs are described as birds in the trees of paradise, free and joyful. Others are placed in green lanterns, hung beneath the throne of Allah. These are not fictions. These are glimpses of the unseen world as described by the Prophet. For the soul that lived in obedience, every moment in Barzakh becomes a source of contentment. Even though the day of judgment has not yet arrived, the soul is already tasting paradise. It has seen its place. It knows what is coming. There is no fear, only longing to finally meet Allah, to witness His face, to be admitted into the eternal gardens where no sorrow will ever touch them again. And so for the believer, death is not a tragedy. The grave is not a punishment. It is a doorway to comfort and reward. It is the beginning of what was promised. Their faith has carried them through life, and now it carries them through death. Barzakh for them is not a prison. It is a sanctuary, a place of hope, where they are gently held until the trumpet is blown and they rise again, ready to receive their final reward. In that waiting there is light. In that silence there is joy. In that grave there is bliss. While the grave offers peace and rest for the righteous, it is a place of dread and punishment for those who denied the truth. Those who mocked faith, ignored their responsibilities, or lived in rebellion against their Creator. For them, the journey into Barzakh begins not with light, but with terror. Their soul, having been snatched roughly from the body, returns to the grave only to face the consequences of a life spent heedless of the hereafter. When the soul is returned to the body, the same questions are asked by the two angels, Munkar and Nakir. But this time, the scene is different. The soul is shaken. There is confusion and fear. The questions that once seemed simple: who is your Lord? What is your religion? What do you say about the man who was sent among you? now become unbearable. The lips move, but no real answers come. The disbeliever or the hypocrite fumbles, saying, "I don't know. I heard the people say something, so I said the same." The voice from the heavens responds not with comfort, but with condemnation. "My servant has lied." And then the torment begins. The grave tightens around the body until the ribs press together, crushing and enclosing the person with unbearable pressure. Darkness envelops them. No light enters, no peace descends. Instead of a window to paradise, a portal to hell is open. From it comes heat, fire, and the stench of despair. The soul is forced to look at the place it would have occupied had it chosen to believe, only to be shown the place in hell that now awaits it. The pain is not only physical, it is emotional, spiritual, and psychological. Regret pours in like a flood. The soul remembers the warnings, the signs, the calls to truth it ignored, and now realizes they were not mere stories. They were reality. A hideous being then appears in the grave, its face twisted, dark, and terrifying. When the soul asks, "Who are you?" it replies, "I am your evil deeds." Every lie, every sin, every act of arrogance, cruelty, and disobedience takes shape and becomes a companion in the grave. This being does not offer comfort. It mocks, it haunts, it reminds the soul of the life it wasted and the opportunities it threw away. The soul tries to look away, but there is no escape. The punishment has begun, and it is only the beginning. In some narrations, a hammer made of iron is brought. If the soul could be seen from the outside world, the sound of that hammer striking would terrify all living creatures. Yet the soul alone bears it. The cries that come from the grave are not heard by human ears, but they are real, and the pain is severe. The Prophet Muhammad once said that if he were not worried about overwhelming his followers, he would ask Allah to allow them to hear the punishment of the grave. So terrifying was what he had been shown. The soul then remains in this state of suffering, unable to move forward or backward. Time becomes meaningless. Whether days or centuries pass, the torment continues. It is not the final punishment of hell, but it is a preview of what is to come. The soul is made fully aware of its fate, fully conscious of its loss. It begs for another chance, pleads for a return to life, but the time for repentance has ended. The gate is closed, the chance is lost. Now there is only waiting for the trumpet to blow, for the judgment to begin, and for the soul to be handed over to the justice it can no longer avoid. In the realm of Barzakh, the punishment of the grave is not a metaphor. It is not a dream. It is a real and terrifying phase of existence for those who turn away from the light of faith. And the warning is clear. The grave is either a garden from the gardens of paradise or a pit from the pits of hell. The choice lies not in death, but in life. And when that final moment comes, there will be no escape from the truth. Barzakh is a world unseen, yet its reality is firmly rooted in the fabric of the soul. Though the physical body lies buried, still and lifeless, the soul continues its journey in a realm that is neither this life nor the hereafter. It is not a state of unconscious sleep, but one of deep awareness. The soul feels joy, sorrow, peace, or torment based on the life it once lived. In this realm, the soul is more alive than it ever was in the material world. It is free from the limitations of flesh, time, and space, existing in a dimension where the rules of the physical world no longer apply. For the righteous soul, life in Barzakh is filled with light, rest, and anticipation. The soul finds itself in the company of other believing souls. They gather, they speak, they rejoice in the memory of their worldly lives and their shared faith. In certain narrations, it is said that when a new soul arrives in Barzakh, the others welcome it like a traveler returning home. They ask about their loved ones still on earth, and if told that someone has not yet arrived, they understand the person may have taken a different path. These exchanges are not dreams or imagination. They are spiritual gatherings in a realm designed by Allah, a place where the soul continues to grow, reflect, and wait for the final hour. There are souls that wander freely, who have been granted permission to move through the layers of the heavens and even visit the earthly realm. Though the physical barrier remains, the soul is no longer bound by the body's limitations. In some cases, righteous souls may visit their loved ones in dreams, bringing comfort or subtle messages. These are not ordinary dreams. They are glimpses from Barzakh, veiled in symbolic language, meant to guide or remind those still living. A mother may dream of her late child smiling in white garments, or a friend may see a departed loved one speaking words of advice. These moments are not to be taken lightly, for they may come from a world closer to truth than the one we live in. But just as the righteous soul finds comfort, the sinful soul may find itself in a Barzakh filled with loneliness, fear, or restlessness. Cut off from peace, these souls may not rest at all. Their torment continues, and they are not welcomed by the righteous. If allowed to visit the world of the living, their presence may come in the form of nightmares or haunting visions, not to harm, but as a reflection of their own suffering. Some scholars have mentioned that the souls of the wicked are confined, restricted, unable to roam as freely as the believers. Their state in Barzakh mirrors their rejection of truth during life, a continuation of the distance they place between themselves and Allah. And yet for both the believer and the sinner, the soul remains aware of the world it left behind, aware of the loved ones who pray for them or forget them, aware of the legacy they left behind. The soul can hear the footsteps as the living walk away from the grave. It can feel the mercy that descends with each supplication made in sincerity. The living, though unable to see, play a part in the comfort of the dead. Charity, prayers, Qur'an recitation, and good deeds offered on behalf of the deceased reach them in Barzakh like gifts, lightening their burden or adding to their joy. This phase between death and resurrection is long, and yet it is not without connection. Life continues, not in the way we understand it, but in a form that transcends what eyes can see and hands can touch. The soul waits, watches, and remains tethered to the divine decree. Until the trumpet is blown and the heavens are split, until the graves are overturned and every soul is raised, Barzakh remains the mysterious in-between, a veil, a waiting place, and a reminder that death is not the end. It is a continuation of a journey every soul was created to complete. The grave is not the final chapter. It is the doorway to a new existence, one that unveils the truth behind every action, every intention, every moment we lived on this earth. What happens there is not a mystery left to imagination. It is a certainty, described in the words of Allah and explained by His messenger. In Barzakh, the soul finds either rest or regret. The soil that once felt lifeless becomes a witness. The darkness that once seemed empty becomes filled with either divine light or the weight of one's deeds. And so the question is no longer what happens in the grave. It is what we are doing now to prepare for it. Life is fleeting. No matter how long we live, no matter how high we rise, it all ends with a return to the dust from which we came. What remains is not our wealth, status, or possessions, but our faith, our worship, our kindness, and our sincerity. Every prayer, every act of patience, every tear shed in repentance builds our home in the unseen. The grave will reflect the life we live today. It will greet us with the face of our deeds, either beautiful or hideous, comforting or horrifying. But Allah's mercy is vast. He has given us countless opportunities to prepare, to remember death not with dread, but with purpose, to give, to forgive, to turn back to Him before the soul is taken. Visiting graves, reflecting on the hereafter, and staying mindful of the eternal journey softens the heart and brings the soul back to its rightful focus. One day, each of us will lie beneath the earth, alone in body, but not alone in soul. What we send ahead will remain with us. And so we live, not just for this world, but for the next. The grave is coming, but with faith, repentance, and sincerity, we can ensure it welcomes us with peace.
Before the empires, before the books, before the rise and fall of civilizations, there was a man born in the desert sands of Arabia, a man whose name echoes in billions of hearts every single day, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But how much do we truly know about him? In this script, we'll uncover 100 astonishing facts about the final messenger, facts that even lifelong Muslims might not know. Fact 1. He was prophesied in earlier scriptures. Many Islamic scholars believe that Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in previous holy books, including the Torah and the Gospel. In the Bible's book of Deuteronomy, 18:18, there is a reference to a prophet like Moses, which Muslims interpret as a foretelling of Muhammad. Even the Gospel of John refers to the coming of a comforter or paraclete, which early Muslim commentators identified with the prophet. These references hint that his mission was long awaited, not only by the Arabs, but by the people of the book too. Fact 2, he was born an orphan. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, was born in the year 570 CE in Mecca. His father, Abdullah, died before he was born, and his mother, Amina, passed away when he was just 6. From a very young age, he was acquainted with loss, grief, and resilience. Raised first by his grandfather Abdul Muttalib and then by his uncle Abu Talib, the Prophet's early life was shaped by hardship and compassion. Fact 3. His name means the praised one. The name Muhammad comes from the Arabic root HMD, which means praise. It literally translates to the praised one. It is said that no one had this name before him. It was as if his name itself was divinely chosen to reflect his future legacy. Today, Muhammad is the most common name in the world. Fact 4, he never learned to read or write. Though he brought a book that transformed the world, Prophet Muhammad was illiterate. He couldn't read or write. This fact is mentioned in the Qur'an itself, 7157, highlighting the miraculous nature of the revelation. He recited the verses as revealed by Angel Gabriel, and his companions memorized and later documented them. His illiteracy became a powerful sign of the divine source of his message. Fact 5. He was known as Al-Amin. Even before prophethood, Muhammad was known among the Meccans as Al-Amin, the trustworthy. People entrusted him with their wealth, secrets, and disputes. Even those who later opposed him admitted his honesty. His integrity was so unshakable that during times of conflict he was called upon to mediate. Trust wasn't just a trait he taught, it was how he lived. Fact 6, he lived a life of simplicity. Despite being offered wealth, kingship, and luxury, Prophet Muhammad chose a life of humility and simplicity. He often slept on a mat, ate plain food, and patched his own clothes. A visitor once entered his home and wept seeing the bareness of his quarters. The Prophet replied, "What have I to do with this world? I am like a traveler resting under the shade of a tree and then moving on." Fact 7, he adopted a freed slave as his son. Zayd ibn Haritha, once a slave, was freed by the Prophet and loved so deeply that he became known as Zayd ibn Muhammad, until a Quranic verse instructed against naming children after adoptive parents. Zayd's story is one of the earliest examples of Islam's commitment to human equality, regardless of race or status. Fact 8, he forgave the people who tried to kill him. After the conquest of Mecca, the Prophet had the chance to take revenge on those who tortured, exiled, and plotted to kill him. Instead, he stood before them and said, "Go, for you are free." His forgiveness stunned even his enemies, and many of them entered Islam that day. His mercy wasn't weakness, it was strength of the highest order. Fact 9, he cried for us. One night, the Prophet wept during prayer. When asked why, he replied, "My Ummah, my Ummah." He was shown his followers, including those yet to be born, and he begged Allah to forgive them. His love wasn't limited to those around him, it transcended time. Every act of kindness, every prayer, every teaching, he did it for us. Fact 10, he was a loving husband and father. In a time when women were often neglected, the Prophet treated his wives with love, respect, and gentleness. He helped with household chores, joked with them, and listened with care. To his daughter Fatima, he would stand up when she entered and kiss her on the forehead. His example as a family man is one of the most touching aspects of his legacy. Fact 11, he established the first constitution. In Medina, the Prophet laid down what is now considered the first written constitution in history, the Constitution of Medina. It granted rights and protections to all citizens, including Jews and non-Muslims. It set rules for justice, religious freedom, and mutual defense. This groundbreaking document was centuries ahead of its time, showing the Prophet's deep wisdom in governance and coexistence. Fact 12. He taught that racism is a sin. Long before civil rights movements, Prophet Muhammad declared that no Arab is superior to a non-Arab, and no white is superior to a black, except by piety and good actions. In his final sermon, he shattered tribalism and racism, calling humanity one family under God. His companion Bilal, a former African slave, was honored with the call to prayer, a symbol of equality still remembered today. Fact 13, he prayed for his enemies. In Taif, when he was rejected, mocked and stoned until his feet bled, the Prophet didn't curse his attackers. Instead, he raised his hands and prayed for their guidance. Even when the angel of the mountains offered to crush the city, he refused. He said, "Perhaps their children will believe." His mercy wasn't reserved for friends. It extended even to those who hurt him most. Fact 14. He encouraged environmental protection. Prophet Muhammad was centuries ahead in environmental teachings. He forbade the cutting of trees in war, encouraged planting, and warned against wasting water, even when using a flowing river. He said, "If a Muslim plants a tree or sows seeds, and a bird or person or animal eats from it, it is a charity for him." He lived in harmony with nature, a lesson the modern world is still learning. Fact 15. He taught animal rights. One of the earliest voices for animal welfare was Prophet Muhammad. He taught that animals should be treated kindly, never overburdened or harmed without cause. He told the story of a woman punished for locking up a cat and another forgiven for giving water to a thirsty dog. His compassion wasn't just for people. It extended to all living beings. Fact 16. He smiled often. Contrary to how some may portray him, the Prophet was known for his gentle smile and warm demeanor. His companion Abdullah ibn Harith said, "I never saw anyone smile more than the Messenger of Allah." His smile lit hearts, softened enemies, and welcomed the poor and rich alike. It was part of his mercy, simple, disarming, and sincere. Fact 17. He gave women unprecedented rights. In 7th century Arabia, women had few rights. Islam, under Muhammad's leadership, revolutionized their status. Women were given the right to inherit, own property, receive education, and choose whom to marry. The Prophet said, "The best of you is the one who is best to his wife." His teachings honored women as mothers, daughters, and believers, equal in spirituality and responsibility. Fact 18. He shared everything he had. The Prophet never hoarded wealth. Whenever he received gifts or wealth, he would distribute them among the poor and needy, keeping little for himself. His home was often empty of food, yet he gave without hesitation. Once he said, "If I had gold equal to Mount Uhud, I would not rest until I gave it all away." Generosity wasn't a deed for him. It was a way of life. Fact 19. He made time for children. Prophet Muhammad would kneel to hug children, carry them on his shoulders, and shorten prayers when he heard a baby crying. He greeted kids with affection and playfulness, making them feel seen and valued. A boy once said, "The Prophet gave me a nickname and played with me. I never forgot it." In a world where children were often ignored, he lifted them up. Fact 20. He lived the Qur'an. When asked about the character of Prophet Muhammad, Aisha, R.A., his beloved wife, said, "His character was the Qur'an." He didn't just preach the message, he embodied it. Patience, truth, humility, justice, mercy. He lived every verse. Through his actions, the world saw the Qur'an in motion. He was the walking, breathing example of divine revelation. Fact 21. He taught that smiling is a charity. In a world where grand gestures are often praised, Prophet Muhammad taught that even a smile is an act of charity. He said, "Your smile for your brother is charity." This simple teaching transformed the way people viewed kindness. To him, good deeds weren't limited to wealth. They included warmth, friendliness, and small daily acts of love that brighten someone's day. Fact 22. He revolutionized funeral rites. Before Islam, the rituals surrounding death were often rooted in superstition and inequality. Prophet Muhammad introduced dignified, simple, and equal funeral rites. Whether rich or poor, all were to be buried the same, with respect and prayers. He personally participated in funerals, comforted grieving families, and reminded others of the brevity of life, teaching that humility should follow us even in death. Fact 23. He was a strategic genius in peace and war. While known for his mercy, Prophet Muhammad was also a brilliant strategist and negotiator. From the Treaty of Hudaybiyah to the peaceful conquest of Mecca, he used diplomacy, patience, and long-term vision to achieve peace with minimal bloodshed. Even in battle, he forbade harming civilians, destroying crops, or attacking without warning, centuries ahead of modern war ethics. Fact 24. He balanced worship and work. He never separated faith from daily life. The Prophet encouraged people to pray, but also to work hard, be productive, and contribute. He once said, "If the day of judgment comes while you have a seed in your hand, plant it." He personally worked, traded, served, and prayed, showing that true faith lives both in mosques and in marketplaces. Fact 25. He fasted regularly beyond Ramadan. While Ramadan is the month of obligatory fasting, Prophet Muhammad would also fast on Mondays and Thursdays, saying that deeds are presented to Allah on those days. He fasted on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of each lunar month and the day of Ashura, reviving traditions of earlier prophets. His discipline with food and his spiritual routines taught balance and self-control. Fact 26. He honored neighbors regardless of faith. The Prophet taught that a neighbor has rights even if they aren't Muslim. He once said, "By Allah, he is not a believer whose neighbor is not safe from his harm." When a Jewish neighbor passed away, he stood in respect. His companions asked why. He said, "Was he not a soul?" His example taught that community is built on kindness, not creed. Fact 27. He was the final messenger in a long line of prophets. Muslims believe Prophet Muhammad is Khatam an-Nabiyyin, the seal of the prophets. He came as the final messenger after a long chain of prophets, including Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, peace be upon them all. His mission was not to erase their messages, but to complete and unify them under one divine revelation, the Qur'an. Fact 28. He mourned for his sons who passed away. Out of 7 children, only one, Fatima, survived him. His sons Qasim, Abdullah, and Ibrahim all passed away young. When Ibrahim died in his arms, he wept and said, "The eyes shed tears, and the heart is grieved. But we do not say except what pleases our Lord." Even in sorrow, his trust in Allah remained unshaken, and his grief made him more human to us all. Fact 29. He experienced a miraculous night journey. One of the most stunning events in his life was Al-Isra wal-Miraj, the night journey and ascension. In a single night, he was taken from Mecca to Jerusalem and then up through the heavens, meeting previous prophets and witnessing the wonders of the divine realm. He returned with the gift of prayer, a spiritual connection that Muslims uphold 5 times a day. Fact 30. He welcomed questions, even difficult ones. The Prophet's companions often asked him hard questions about life, death, faith, and personal matters, and he always responded with patience, clarity, and kindness. He never mocked a questioner or shamed someone for ignorance. In fact, he encouraged inquiry, saying, "The cure for ignorance is to ask." His openness laid the foundation for Islam's intellectual tradition. Fact 31. He had a deep love for his companions. The Prophet didn't treat his companions like followers, he treated them like family. He loved Abu Bakr for his loyalty, Umar for his strength, Uthman for his modesty, and Ali for his courage. He would praise their qualities publicly, uplift them privately, and mourn their losses deeply. His bond with his companions was built on trust, respect, and shared faith, an unbreakable spiritual brotherhood. Fact 32. He practiced what he preached. Whether it was kindness to others, humility, prayer, or charity, Prophet Muhammad lived everything he taught. When he instructed others to be gentle, he was already known for his gentleness. When he taught patience, he had endured years of persecution. His life was a mirror of his message, a rare harmony between words and actions. Fact 33. He was known for his cleanliness. Cleanliness is half of faith. He taught, and he embodied it fully. The Prophet bathed regularly, used perfume, trimmed his nails and cleaned his teeth with a miswak, natural toothbrush, multiple times a day. He wore clean clothes, combed his hair, and kept his home tidy. He taught that spiritual purity begins with physical cleanliness, long before hygiene became a modern science. Fact 34. He warned against arrogance. Prophet Muhammad despised arrogance. He said, "He who has even a mustard seed of pride in his heart shall not enter paradise." He reminded the wealthy not to look down on the poor and the powerful not to oppress the weak. He taught that true greatness comes from humility, not from wealth, lineage, or titles. Fact 35. He loved perfume and pleasant scents. Among the things the Prophet cherished were prayer, women, in the sense of respect and love for family, and perfume. He frequently applied fragrance and encouraged others to do the same, especially on Fridays and before prayers. He said, "The angels are pleased by good scents." To him, smelling pleasant was a sign of good character and dignity. Fact 36. He made dua, supplication, constantly. For every moment in life, waking, sleeping, eating, traveling, sadness, or joy, Prophet Muhammad had a dua, prayer. He taught his followers to connect with Allah in all situations, not just during hardship. These beautiful supplications weren't just requests, they were moments of surrender, love, and closeness to the Creator. Fact 37. He slept on his right side. The Prophet recommended sleeping on the right side, a position later found by medical studies to aid digestion and heart function. He would say, "In your name, O Allah, I live and die," before sleeping. Even his resting habits were filled with spiritual mindfulness, turning ordinary moments into acts of worship. Fact 38. He was gentle with servants and workers. Whether someone served him food, cleaned his house, or worked beside him, the Prophet treated them with respect and kindness. Anas ibn Malik served him for 10 years and said, "Not once did he scold me or say, 'Why did you do this?'" In an age when servants were often mistreated, Muhammad uplifted them as equals in humanity. Fact 39. He established the rights of animals in worship. Even during religious rituals, the Prophet set limits to prevent animal cruelty. He instructed that sacrificial animals be well fed, not frightened, and killed swiftly with a sharp blade. He taught that showing mercy to animals during sacrifice was a reflection of one's piety and moral character. Fact 40. He inspired loyalty without force. Unlike tyrants and kings, Prophet Muhammad never demanded loyalty. He inspired it. His companions would sacrifice everything, not out of fear, but out of love and conviction. When asked why they loved him so much, one companion replied, "We had never known mercy until we met him." His leadership was not through power, but through love, integrity, and compassion. Fact 41. He never raised his voice in the marketplace. Despite being a leader, Prophet Muhammad walked among the people like one of them. In the markets of Medina, he never shouted, argued, or cheated. He greeted others with peace, smiled, and advised honesty. The Qur'an even praised this in Surah Al-Fath 48:29, describing him as firm against injustice, but gentle in character. His presence brought ethics into business and calm into chaos. Fact 42. He would lead by example, even in hard labor. The Prophet never stood apart when work needed to be done. During the building of the mosque in Medina, or during battles when trenches were dug, he joined his companions, lifting stones with dust on his clothes. He never ordered what he himself wouldn't do. Through action over authority, he taught that true leadership is service. Fact 43. He forbade torture, even to enemies. At a time when cruelty and war was common, Prophet Muhammad stood firm against it. He forbade torture, mutilation, and cruelty, even toward enemies and prisoners of war. He said, "Do not kill the old, the child, or the woman. Do not destroy trees or homes." His rules of engagement formed the ethical backbone of warfare in Islam. Fact 44. He changed the way the world saw orphans. He was an orphan, and he never forgot what that felt like. Prophet Muhammad constantly reminded his followers to care for orphans, calling it one of the greatest acts of mercy. He said, "I, and the one who cares for an orphan, will be together in paradise like these," holding his fingers close together. His own childhood pain became a pathway of compassion for others. Fact 45. He encouraged learning for men and women. The Prophet placed extraordinary value on seeking knowledge. He said, "Seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim." He never limited it by gender. His own wife Aisha became one of the most prominent scholars of her time. He knew that a society cannot flourish without educated individuals, and he planted those seeds early in Islamic history. Fact 46. He was never ashamed to cry. In moments of grief, prayer, or compassion, the Prophet would cry openly. Whether mourning the death of his son, praying in the night, or feeling mercy for his people, tears flowed from his eyes. He taught that crying wasn't weakness, it was a sign of a soft, God-conscious heart. His vulnerability made him deeply relatable and deeply loved. Fact 47. He loved to serve guests personally. Even when he was the head of state, Prophet Muhammad would serve his guests himself. He offered them water, sat beside them, and listened intently. He said, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should honor his guest." Hospitality wasn't just a custom, it was a spiritual duty in his home. Fact 48. He chose mercy, even in victory. After years of persecution, when he re-entered Mecca as a victorious leader, the people feared revenge. Instead, he lowered his head in humility and forgave nearly everyone, including those who had harmed him personally. He recited the verse, "There is no blame upon you today. Allah will forgive you." Qur'an 12:92. His conquest became a moment of unprecedented mercy in history. Fact 49. He never abused power. Despite having the authority of both a prophet and a statesman, Muhammad never used power for personal gain. He never built a palace, demanded tribute, or sought luxury. He lived in a small, simple home, often going days without food. His only throne was his humility. His governance was guided by justice, ethics, and God consciousness. Fact 50. He is the most mentioned man on earth. Every day, over 1 billion Muslims mention his name in prayers, greetings, sermons, and blessings. His name, Muhammad, is recited in the Adhan, call to prayer, the Tashahhud, and countless supplications. Even in silence, hearts around the world echo with love for him. No man in history has been more remembered, honored, or followed. His legacy is truly eternal. Fact 51. He taught that intentions matter more than actions. The very first hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari begins with the Prophet's words, "Actions are judged by intentions." This one teaching revolutionized the way people viewed worship and deeds. He emphasized that what's in your heart matters more than appearances. A small act done with sincerity can outweigh a grand gesture done for show. Through this, he taught that purity of soul is greater than public praise. Fact 52. He loved the poor and preferred to live among them. The Prophet used to pray, "O Allah, let me live as a poor man, die as a poor man, and resurrect me among the poor." He felt most at home among the humble, the struggling, and the forgotten. He sat with them, ate with them, and reminded his followers that poverty is not a curse, but a test, and often a path to closeness with God. Fact 53. He often gave the best portions to others. Whether it was food, clothing, or gifts, Prophet Muhammad would always give the best to others and keep the simplest for himself. If there was one good piece of bread or meat, he gave it away. If there was something beautiful, he gifted it. He lived by the principle that true love is preferring others over oneself, even in the smallest things. Fact 54. He made people feel seen. The Prophet never overlooked anyone. Whether it was a child with a simple question, an elderly woman on the street, or a new Muslim struggling with faith, he listened, noticed, and uplifted. People said that when he looked at you, it felt like you were the only one in the room. His presence made others feel worthy, valued, and loved. Fact 55. He brought dignity to labor. He once kissed the hands of a man with rough skin from hard work and said, "These are hands loved by Allah." Prophet Muhammad taught that working with your hands, whether farming, crafting, or building, was honorable and blessed. He erased the stigma of lowly jobs and restored dignity to laborers, showing that honest work is a form of worship. Fact 56. He was the greatest advocate for justice. Whether it involved the rich, poor, Muslim, or non-Muslim, the Prophet stood for absolute justice. He said, "Even if my own daughter Fatima stole, I would apply the punishment to her." He judged by fairness, not favoritism. His commitment to justice, even against his own people, became the cornerstone of Islamic legal ethics. Fact 57. He valued silence and thoughtfulness. The Prophet spoke only when necessary, and when he did, his words were clear, concise, and full of meaning. He often paused before speaking, weighed his words, and encouraged others to think before they spoke. His companions said his silence was longer than his speech. Through this, he taught that true wisdom often lies in restraint. Fact 58. He visited the sick, even if they opposed him. A Jewish boy once fell ill, and though his family opposed Islam, the Prophet visited him, sat beside him, and gently invited him to faith. The boy accepted Islam before passing away. He also visited Muslims and non-Muslims alike in their illness, offering prayers, hope, and compassion, reminding us that humanity transcends belief in moments of need. Fact 59. He encouraged optimism in every situation. The Prophet never gave in to despair, even in the darkest moments, like hiding in a cave with enemies nearby. He told Abu Bakr, "Do not be afraid. Allah is with us." He believed in hope, in divine wisdom, and in the resilience of the human heart. His optimism became a light that carried the early Muslims through immense trials. Fact 60. He continues to inspire hearts across centuries. Over 1,400 years have passed, yet the love for Prophet Muhammad only grows. People weep at the mention of his name, send blessings upon him daily, name their children after him, and model their lives on his teachings. His light did not fade with time. It grew brighter, crossing continents and generations, touching hearts of every race, color, and tongue. Fact 61. He considered modesty a branch of faith. The Prophet said, "Every religion has a characteristic, and the characteristic of Islam is modesty." But modesty to him wasn't just about clothing, it was about humility, avoiding arrogance, and lowering one's gaze from pride, not just from people. Whether walking, speaking, or interacting with others, he carried himself with grace, shyness, and quiet strength, inspiring others to do the same. Fact 62. He made time for solitude and reflection. Long before the Qur'an was revealed, Prophet Muhammad would retreat to Cave Hira for nights at a time. He would reflect on the universe, creation, and the meaning of life. Even during his busy prophetic mission, he sought solitude with Allah in the depths of the night. This love of spiritual retreat, itikaf, teaches us the power of silence, stillness, and connection to the divine. Fact 63. He called the Qur'an his eternal miracle. While many prophets were given physical miracles, like parting seas or healing the sick, Prophet Muhammad said, "The Qur'an is my miracle. It is a book of language, power, depth, and divine beauty, revealed over 23 years and still memorized, recited, and reflected on by millions. Its preservation and impact are unlike anything the world has ever seen." Fact 64. He was a refuge for the brokenhearted. People with shattered pasts, broken spirits, or painful wounds found comfort in his presence. Whether it was the poor widow, the grieving mother, the abandoned child, or the shamed sinner, he listened, forgave, encouraged, and prayed for them. He never turned anyone away. His heart was a shelter for souls in pain, and he offered healing through love, not judgment. Fact 65. He walked humbly on the earth. When he walked, he didn't stomp. He didn't strut. He walked quickly, with purpose, and his head slightly bowed, not out of weakness, but humility. The Qur'an even says, "And do not walk on the earth with arrogance." 1737. His footsteps carried mercy, and his presence softened even the hardest of hearts. Fact 66. He never took revenge for himself. In his entire life, the Prophet never sought personal revenge. Even when people insulted him, slandered his wife, or tried to kill him, he only responded when it concerned justice for others or the defense of the weak. His patience was legendary. He taught that forgiveness is better than retaliation, and that true strength lies in restraint. Fact 67. He honored his wives as teachers of the Ummah. Prophet Muhammad didn't just love his wives, he empowered them. Aisha, ERA, became one of the greatest scholars in Islamic history, narrating over 2,000 hadiths. He often told his followers to seek knowledge from her and never silenced her voice. He built marriages on mutual respect, affection, and spiritual partnership, a model still relevant today. Fact 68. He wept for his daughter Fatima. When Fatima would visit him, he would rise to greet her, kiss her, and seat her where he sat. During his final illness, he whispered something that made her cry, then something that made her smile. Later, she revealed, "He told me he would soon die, and I cried. Then he told me I would be the first to join him in paradise, and I smiled." Their bond was pure love and devotion. Fact 69. He warned against religious extremism. The Prophet warned his followers, "Beware of extremism in religion, for it destroyed those before you." He preached a path of balance, compassion, and mercy, not rigidness or harshness. His life was the middle way, teaching that faith is meant to ease burdens, not increase them, and that the best religion is one practiced with wisdom and care. Fact 70. He is described in the Qur'an as a mercy to the worlds. The most powerful description of him is in Surah Al-Anbiya 21:107. "And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds." Not just to Muslims, not just to his time, but to all of creation, past, present, and future. His mercy touched the old and young, believer and stranger, animal and tree, enemy and friend. He wasn't just a messenger, he was a gift from God to all that exists. Fact 71. He began his mornings with praise and gratitude. Every day, Prophet Muhammad would awaken by praising Allah. He taught, "All praise is due to Allah who gave us life after death, sleep, and to him is the return." His mornings began not with haste or worry, but with mindful remembrance, setting the tone for a day filled with purpose and gratitude. In a fast-paced world, his example reminds us to begin each day with peace and connection. Fact 72. He respected other prophets deeply. The prophet often spoke with reverence about Moses, Jesus, Abraham, Noah, and others. He emphasized that Muslims must believe in all previous messengers. He said, "Do not elevate me above Yunus, Jonah." His humility, even in prophethood, shows his deep solidarity with the line of messengers, confirming that Islam is not a new faith, but a continuation of divine guidance. Fact 73. He forbade cursing and harsh language. Though he faced ridicule and insult, Prophet Muhammad never responded with vulgarity. He said, "The believer is not a slanderer, nor does he curse, nor speak obscenely or abusively." His words were always measured, his tone always gentle. Even in disagreement, he taught dignity. His example invites us to elevate our speech and purify our hearts. Fact 74. He gave animals their rights, even in worship. During Hajj, the Prophet insisted that sacrificial animals be well fed, not mistreated, and slaughtered swiftly. He forbade branding animals on their faces or keeping birds in cages without reason. He said, "Whoever kills a sparrow for sport will answer to Allah." Long before animal welfare laws existed, he made compassion to all living creatures a mark of true faith. Fact 75. He was a source of strength for the oppressed. Slaves, the poor, and outcasts came to the Prophet because he didn't just preach equality, he lived it. Bilal, an African slave, became the first to call the Adhan. Salman the Persian, Suhaib the Roman, and others from different backgrounds were honored. He built a society where status came not from tribe or skin, but from piety and character. Fact 76. He was gracious, even with those who disagreed. When people debated with him or challenged him, the Prophet responded not with anger, but with calm and clarity. He often listened fully before answering. The Qur'an tells him, "Repel evil with what is better." 41:34. He showed that winning hearts is more powerful than winning arguments, and that truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. Fact 77. He used humor in a beautiful, respectful way. Though deeply serious when it came to matters of faith, the Prophet had a warm sense of humor. He joked with children, teased his wives gently, and made his companions laugh, never hurtfully, never falsely. He said, "I joke, but I speak only the truth." His humor was light, sincere, and full of love, showing that faith and joy go hand in hand. Fact 78. He taught that the best of people are those most beneficial to others. One of his most powerful sayings is, "The best of people are those who are most beneficial to others." This teaching shifts the focus from status or rituals alone to service, kindness, and contribution. He reminded us that faith is not just personal, but social. To serve others is to serve Allah. Fact 79. He prophesied events that later came true. Throughout his life, the Prophet made several predictions, from the conquest of Constantinople to the spread of Islam across the world, and even signs of the end times. Many of these were fulfilled in detail, strengthening the faith of those around him. But his purpose was never to amaze. It was to warn, guide, and prepare hearts for truth. Fact 80. He was a mercy, even to those who hated him. Perhaps the greatest proof of his prophethood is how he treated those who tried to kill him, slander him, or destroy him. He forgave Hind, who ordered the mutilation of his uncle. He forgave Washi, who killed that uncle. He forgave Abdullah ibn Ubay, the chief hypocrite. His mercy was not selective. It was divine, limitless, and breathtaking. Fact 81. He was the embodiment of patience. In the face of rejection, abuse, loss, and betrayal, Prophet Muhammad remained steadfast and calm. When his sons died, when his wife passed, when his companions were tortured, he grieved, yes, but he never lost faith. He said, "Patience is at the first strike of calamity." His life was filled with trials, yet he showed us how to bear pain with dignity and faith in Allah's plan. Fact 82. He loved sweetness, in food and in character. The Prophet enjoyed honey, dates, and sweet dishes, but he also loved sweetness in behavior. He admired gentle words, soft manners, and a kind disposition. He said, "Allah is gentle and loves gentleness in all matters." Just as sugar makes food more pleasant, his character taught us that gentleness makes life more beautiful. Fact 83. He was a champion of the oppressed, even before prophethood. Before receiving revelation, the Prophet joined a pact called Hilf al-Fudul, which aimed to protect the rights of the oppressed in Mecca. He later said, "If I were called to it today in Islam, I would accept it." His stand for justice wasn't limited by time or title. It was part of who he always was. Fact 84. He taught that the strongest person is the one who controls their anger. He once asked, "Do you know who is strong?" The companion said, "The one who defeats others in wrestling." The Prophet replied, "No, the strong one is the one who controls himself when angry." He redirected the idea of strength from muscles to mastery of the self, showing us that inner power is greater than physical might. Fact 85. He was always the first to say salam. The Prophet never waited for others to greet him. He would always say, "Assalamu alaikum" first. He taught that giving salam brings love, removes arrogance, and builds community. He said, "Shall I not tell you something that will make you love one another? Spread salam among yourselves." Even in a simple greeting, he taught the power of connection and peace. Fact 86. He encouraged smiling even in sorrow. Once, a man asked the Prophet for advice. He replied, "Do not become angry." Another time he said, "Even a smile is charity." The Prophet smiled often, even when things were hard. His smile wasn't just a reflection of joy, it was a gift to others, a tool for healing, and a sign of unwavering trust in Allah's mercy. Fact 87. He listened more than he spoke. Though he was the wisest of men, the Prophet would listen deeply to those around him. Whether it was a child, a Bedouin, or a grieving parent, he gave them his full attention. He would face them fully, never interrupt, and always validate their feelings. His silence wasn't distance, it was presence. In a noisy world, he showed that listening is an act of love. Fact 88. He chose peace whenever possible. Though he led armies, Prophet Muhammad preferred peace. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which seemed unfavorable to Muslims at the time, was signed to avoid conflict. He said, "Do not wish to meet the enemy, but if you do, stand firm." He fought only when absolutely necessary and always for justice. His goal wasn't conquest, it was peace with honor. Fact 89. He taught that all creation is sacred. The Prophet once said, "There is a reward for serving any living being." He forbade unnecessary killing, wastefulness, and pollution. He even told his followers to be gentle with the earth, to protect greenery, and to value every form of life. To him, the world was a trust from God, not a possession, and treating it with care was a form of worship. Fact 90. He gave hope until his final breath. Even in his last days, as his body weakened, the Prophet still led prayers, still smiled, still reminded his people to pray, treat others well, and stay united. He told Fatima not to cry. He told his people that they would meet again at the fountain of Al-Kawthar. His final words were a prayer to Allah, leaving behind hope, light, and love for every soul that would come after. Fact 91. He made his final pilgrimage a global message. In the year 10 AH, the Prophet made his farewell pilgrimage accompanied by over 100,000 followers. There, he delivered his final sermon, which became a timeless message of equality, justice, and unity. He reminded people that no Arab is superior to a non-Arab and no white to a black, that women are to be honored, and that blood and property are sacred. This speech echoed through history as a divine declaration of human rights. Fact 92. He taught that the best among us are those who improve themselves. The Prophet once said, "The strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than the weak believer, though there is good in both." Strength here meant not just physical power, but faith, discipline, and striving for excellence. He reminded us that Islam calls for constant growth, inside and out, to be better today than we were yesterday. Fact 93. He was buried in the room of his beloved wife. After his passing, the Prophet was buried in Aisha's room, the very place where he took his final breath, resting his head on her lap. Today, that room lies beneath the green dome of Masjid an-Nabawi in Medina. Visitors from all over the world send prayers and peace to the man who still lives in their hearts, a presence beyond the grave. Fact 94. His influence reached every continent. Though he never left the Arabian Peninsula during his mission, today, his message is recited on every continent, in every language. His name is whispered in jungles, deserts, cities, and mountains. From Indonesia to Iceland, Senegal to Sarajevo, the love for him crosses all borders, uniting the hearts of over 1 billion believers. Fact 95. He taught the power of sincere repentance. The Prophet once said, "Every son of Adam sins, and the best of those who sin are those who repent." He didn't demand perfection. He taught honesty, humility, and returning to Allah again and again. He said that if we turn to God sincerely, even if our sins reach the skies, Allah's mercy would reach further. Fact 96. He knew that hearts needed rest. Prophet Muhammad once said, "There is a Polish for everything, and the Polish for the heart is the remembrance of Allah." He taught that just as the body needs rest and food, the heart needs dhikr, remembrance, reflection, and time away from noise. His way wasn't just spiritual, it was soul care. Fact 97. He cared for new Muslims tenderly. New Muslims who had just embraced the faith were given special attention and support. He helped them feel welcomed, answered their questions with patience, and never expected perfection. He understood their struggles and protected them from judgment. His compassion helped them blossom in faith and gave generations to come a model of gentle guidance. Fact 98. He left behind a living sunnah. The Prophet didn't leave behind wealth, gold, or palaces. He left behind a living tradition, sunnah, a way of life. From how to eat, sleep, pray, treat others, to how to heal the soul, his sunnah is a blueprint for spiritual and emotional health. It's not frozen in the past. It lives in every Muslim who follows his path today. Fact 99. He changed the world without an army or empire. While kings ruled by sword and force, Prophet Muhammad changed hearts with character, patience, and divine revelation. He began as a shepherd, rose as a leader, and passed as a beloved prophet whose legacy still grows. He didn't need palaces to be remembered. His throne was the heart, and his army was faith, love, and mercy. Fact 100. He will intercede for his people on the day of judgment. On the most terrifying day, when every soul will tremble, Prophet Muhammad will fall in prostration before Allah and intercede for his Ummah. He will say, "My nation, my nation." His love didn't end with his death. It continues into the hereafter, and he promised, "Every one of my followers will enter paradise, except those who refuse." When asked who would refuse, he said, "Whoever obeys me enters paradise. Whoever disobeys me has refused." And so ends this journey, not of words, but of the heart. 100 facts, yet we've only touched the surface. Because Prophet Muhammad is not just a name in history. He is a living light in the hearts of the faithful. The more you learn about him, the more you love him. And the more you love him, the more you see the world through mercy, truth, and divine beauty. May peace and blessings forever be upon him.